Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Sunday afternoon in Auckland, and I have a powerhouse of a panel with me today. I am Colette, and I work with Susanna as part of the Your Two Minds team. This is day 7 of your Opulent Self, and as you may know, at the weekend, so day 6 and day 7, we like to do interviews with some of Susanna's clients and just hear some of their stories. And some of you will have seen Jo yesterday, and she had 4 incredible women to talk to. And today we thought we would balance that out a little bit and bring on 2 of the guys as well as 2 of the women. So thank you very much, panel, for being here today. And I will just introduce you, if I may, just a little bit. So we've got Tony, who's coming from British Columbia in Canada. Welcome, Tony. We have Dwayne, who's from South Australia, just outside Adelaide. Hi, Dwayne. We've got Jill, who's in Geelong. Welcome, Jill. And we have Michelle, who's calling in from Bali. And I think we can also hear a little bit of the activity, the noises, and cicadas or whatever they might be there in the background, which is very tropical and lovely. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So, what I would really like to hear from all of you today, and some of you I know a little bit more than others, is really how you come to be part of this amazing community with Your Two Minds and coaching with Susanna. So I'm really interested to know how you first came across Susanna and what your decision was that made you jump on board and say, right, enough is enough, I need to do this. How about you, Tony? Shall we start? Well, Tony's actually the newest member. I mean, you've been with us how long?
Oh, since lesson number 3, I want to say.
Right, yeah, great. And the other 3 have been quite a few months, probably coming up to the 6-month mark, or if not just past there. So Tony, how did you come in touch with Susanna?
Well, it was actually through my wife, Jenny.
Yes.
Jenny Postuma. She mentioned that she had something that she needed to watch, and I sat down and watched it with her. And then she's like, "Okay, I've got another thing to watch tomorrow." And so we watched that together, and I'm like, "Wow, that was pretty awesome." And then we had a meeting with Susanna, and just from that meeting, just talking to her, we both got really good vibes.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah. we were all up there on the same level, I think so.
Yeah, that's great. Susanna's got a really clever way of being able to connect with you, even though it's virtually, it's online. She can actually do that. She can actually really get alongside you, I think, and have an understanding about what you're thinking or what you're feeling or whereabouts you are. So that's great. That's great. Yeah. How about you, Dwayne? How did you come, to cross paths with Susanna?
Yeah, well, at the time I was looking around and looking at lots of different things. I knew there was more to life than being stuck where I was, getting anxious about lots of things and other than that. And I'd sent an inquiry into Susanna. It looked very interesting to what she was doing. I watched a webinar on what she had. And then out of the blue, it was probably a couple of weeks later, she rang me and I really found that connection with her. She understood what I was going through and straight away she had solutions to the problems that I had, and it was a no-brainer for me. Even though I was very anxious about doing it, as soon as I made that decision and jumped for it, it was no looking back.
Yeah, that's great. And so if you were a little bit anxious about jumping on board, how do you feel about that now? Are you, because we do this group coaching, were you sort of feeling a bit anxious about joining the group, or what was it for you?
The biggest thing for me, I guess, I'd never invested money into myself in the past. And for me, that was a big thing. It was like, oh, I don't know, what's going to come of it? What's going to happen? And now I look back and there's no regrets. There's nothing. The growth I've had in myself far outweighs the money that I've spent. So
Yeah. And I think what you've said there is so true of a lot of people, especially if you've not invested in yourself like that before. You do really wonder if what you're going to get out of it. Was that the same for you, Tony, as well?
Oh, for sure, definitely. That's I've spent lots of money in my life, but I've never really invested. Invested in general until recently, and especially in myself. So
Yeah.
that definitely holds true for me.
Yeah, that's great. And I really like that we think about it as an investment. It's not that spending money, it's an investment. And usually if you invest in something, you're going to get a return. Yeah, yeah.
yes, very much.
Yeah. What about you, Jill? How did you cross paths with Susanna?
Well, I was actually referred by a friend, and I'd been seeing some changes in her and the way that she was speaking, the things that she was doing, and the results that she was getting. And I was really interested. So when she actually said to, go in and have a look, I was. I was interested, but I was like, oh gosh, I'm not sure if that's what I'm after. But then listening for a little while and then having a chat, I was at this crossroads that I didn't really realize I was at until I started having these conversations. So I initially, like the other guys, the money side of things came up, which hindered my decision. And I realized that and this was developed through the program, that I have some pretty major money blocks. And the guys just mentioned investment in self, and I didn't see it as that initially, but then obviously turned that around to say, hey, you know what? I need to start changing some things that I'm doing. I need to start changing the way that I'm thinking. And the world, the way that it has been this last 18 months, I'm so grateful that I did, because change is inevitable. And just the change that's happened in my life in the last 6 to 8 months or 9 months since I've been working with Susanna, I've just had the tools, I suppose, to be able to deal with them, and super excited about them, rather than thinking that, they could be, some of them could have been taken as negative. Yeah. So that's sort of where I've I guess flourished from working with Susanna.
Yeah. And those money blocks, I mean, they're very real, aren't they, for a lot of people? And I also probably didn't realize that I had a slightly funny relationship with money, I suppose, and tended to hold on to it more, because when it was gone, it was gone. And we really learn with working with Susanna how that's how I see that now as being quite a ridiculous way of thinking about money. And I try to spend, or just think about how you're going to circulate that money. That's
Absolutely.
great. Yeah. Beautiful, Michelle. How there you are in sunny Bali. How did you come to cross paths with Susanna?
Yeah, Susanna and I actually met maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We were both working in the non-for-profit sector in Melbourne on different sides of a project. And it's funny because that project didn't really go where it was meant to go, but I met some really great people in amongst it, and Susanna was one of those people. So we ended up catching up, I think, once for lunch, and we were both in the coaching space, or both entering the coaching space. And I remember just thinking, wow, this woman's like incredible. And I just wish everyone I got to deal with on this project was like this woman. And we also had a mutual friend as well. So we were kind of circling each other, but then our paths took different directions. And then at the start of this year, when I was making my little list of goals and ideas around what I wanted to do and create, and I have been launching a business as well, or relaunching a business. It's weird, like the things that just start lining up. Like I was like, what's going to be my theme song for my launch? And I was like, it's going to be A Million Dreams by Pink. And I was like, okay, what do I need? Who do I need around me? And I was like, I need more support in this space, and this space, and this space. And then I think Susanna had jumped in my inbox shortly afterwards, and I ignored it. And then she jumped in there a couple of times after that, and I ignored it. And then it kind of came through our other mutual friend, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll jump on in May. And yeah, it kind of went from there. But I think I've been at a point where I've actually invested a lot in myself over the years, and in my work and in my profession and in the body of work that I want to put together. And for me, I'm at a point where it's like, I've invested so much. What are the final pieces to actually take it across the line? So that's the space that I had come from. Yeah.
That's lovely, and that's really interesting, because we can have a lot of success, or we get things moving and get things going, and then we can come to a stop and not quite sure where to go next, or what's the next step. And I think that's really where working with somebody to help you stay focused and move you across the line and push you a bit further, for me, is what that coaching is all about. And that's when it really comes into its own, I think. Yeah. So what's in your, sorry, Michelle, go on. You going to say something?
Yeah, just the final reflection on that as well, that as you were speaking, was that I think having seen Susanna walk a similar path, and from a similar kind of work background, that was really helpful for me as well. Yeah.
That's great. And so, since you've been working with Susanna, what's that experience been like as being part of the Your Two Minds community? What does that do for you? What stands out for you in terms of the coaching world, or being in a coaching environment? What's that been like for you? Let's start with Dwayne. How's that been for you, Dwayne?
I guess for me, going online and that was very sort of distant and unknown for me, and being coached online and joining other communities with other people. It's not something that I had done. I guess I've always been a people person and like to jump in and join and chat with people, but it's always been a social environment, not a environment where I'm building myself and then building the others around me to bigger and greater things. And they're just the little bits that we always get from Susanna, and she always just seems to know that what we need at the right time, and everyone else seems to be around about that same page, that we just seem to there's when we hear it, it comes through, and then quite often she'll get to the end of the call, she'll go to ask us questions, but within that call she's already answered everything for us, and even stuff that we didn't even know that we needed at that time, but hearing it straight away, you're just like, oh, that's what it was. I've been thinking about that for weeks, and it just clicked. It was just something that I needed right at that time. So that's been a very good thing for me.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Jill? What's your experience?
I think I'd mentioned it recently, with how it's like some of the information that we learn and that we go through in the lessons. It's familiar. I think it's what I'm trying to say. It's familiar. Yes, I've heard this. Yes, I've read this. Oh, okay. But the way that Susanna presents it, the way that the group studies it, and how she helps us through it, and deep diving into the lessons, it's where you begin to get a true understanding of what these principles are. And for me, there were a lot of light bulb moments. So it was like, oh, that's what that means. And it's not just a saying or a quote or something that you've read. It's the deeper meaning of it. And for me, that meant that I got these tools that were in my toolbox for when life throws stuff your way, that you've got this, you've got the ammunition, or you've got the stuff in your tool belt that enables you to handle it and move on. And one of the biggest things for me is, the biggest learning is things happening for you, not to you. So that was always like, when something was thrown up, it was like, okay, what's this trying to tell me, rather than, oh dear, what's this all about? So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that's good. And I'd like to come back to sort of a little bit later about your situation, what happened to you recently, and how. I mean, I've seen you just sort of like catapult with where you're going, but just like to hear from Tony. I know you're new, and but what's so you jumped on board. What's that experience been like working, as part of with Susanna and as part of that coaching community?
It's kind of incredible, to be honest. It's really interesting, being in a group with people that are kind of in a similar, going in a similar direction, let's say.
Yeah.
And I really start to notice other people in my orbit that are directionless and, stuck in their, their own spirals. You start to really notice that around you, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. So even if I don't feel like I'm making any sort of progress at any given point, I know I'm at least pointed in the right direction. And that's a really comforting thing to fall back on.
Yeah. And I know exactly what you're saying when you look around you and you see other people. And I could see Dwayne nodding there and saying, yes, how you become aware of other people around you and where they're going, or maybe not, or it seemed to be a little bit stuck as well. So I guess it does a lot of opening up for us in being able, I think we use the term sometimes about awakening or becoming alive, and with ourselves and what's around us. Yeah, fascinating. And we use that term interesting a lot. I do that. It kind of, gets you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. Michelle, what about you? What's been your experience of working with Susanna and
In the community.
yes, yes.
Reflecting to what Jill was saying around, the lessons often they are simple, but
Mm,
the thing is that the fundamental, like, you always come back to the fundamentals, and the fundamentals always need to be taken on in a different way as you up level and shift and change. You've got to come back to the
mm,
fundamentals and go, oh wait,
mm,
yeah, I've missed
mm,
that and I've forgotten that, and they're the missing pieces, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
And I suppose the other side of that as well is the space that Susanna and the integrity of the space that Susanna holds. It's like it's up here. So everyone is constantly held in this space where you're already elevated the second you get on the call. And if you're not, you rise up to that very quickly.
mhm,
And so, yeah, from that space, taking on those base level lessons again, it's almost like this marrying up of the pieces that need to kind of just go to, as
mm,
Dwayne said, to give you what you need at that moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's fascinating. And
Mm.
okay, what I'd also really like to hear from you, because we have these goals. So it's one of the key things that we get stuck into when we join up is, what is your goal? What's a stretch goal? What are you going to be working towards? So this isn't just about taking little steps. We talk a lot about having quantum leaps and being able to move forward. And it does push us outside of our comfort zone quite a bit. And that's all part of it, because that's where the growth takes place, isn't it? So I know that each of you have got some big goals, really big goals, and all absolutely achievable. And so it'd just be great to talk a little bit about where you've been able to progress to, and but more importantly, how has that come about through the coaching and working with Susanna? So I guess the opposite to that would be, if you hadn't been in this space and in this community, how far would you have got? Because we talk to a lot of people who have got some great goals, but what we know is often people don't get to make the progress on their own. So being part of coaching is a great way to be able to do that. And so, Dwayne, do you want to talk about where you're up to with what you want to do? Because you're about to make a really bold move, which I have to say, I take my hat off to you, what you decided to do.
Yes, well, I guess I left school and started an apprenticeship with a engineering firm as a welder, and started there. Was on the floor, finished my apprenticeship, been there for 7 years. Then I had planned to leave, but then took another role in the office there as their lead draftsman. Took that on, and I've been there. So now I've been there for 18 years, and this year I've been working on lots of stuff in the background to go out and create my own business in a completely different industry after 18 years. And as of the end of next week, I'll be finishing full-time employment with them there and moving on to my own hopes and dreams of what I want to do and where I want to be, and moving forward to I guess the online community and being able to help other people out there with the issues that I've succumbed to over my working career and life that I haven't understood or seen ways of getting past, to grow myself, and stuff that I've struggled with. Big thing for me is I'll be going out there and then helping those other people do that in many different ways now, which is very exciting for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how did you get the courage to actually make that plunge? I'm always absolutely in awe of people who say, "That's it, I'm giving up the job. I've handed in my notice, and I'll be gone." And that I'm just absolutely in awe of people who do that. And as you say, working in a company for 18 years, you're very secure, you're very comfortable, it's very familiar, and you're going to do something completely different. So how did you get that courage to do that?
I guess for me, I deep down I already knew that I wanted to go and do something like this, but
Mm,
I never thought in my wildest dreams before being signed up with Susanna that I would ever even go and step foot outside of what that was so comfortable for me. And
mm,
it's reasonable income too, coming to me all the time, more than what probably a lot of other people in the district that I live get. So
mm,
for me to go and move from that, and I think the big thing holding me there was that financial stability. And now being with Susanna, I understand that I'm growing and spending money, and it's always going to come back to me, and it's going to come back to me tenfold as well by helping other people grow. So for me, I guess making that decision wasn't easy, but deep down I already knew that that's what I was going to do, and that's where I was going to go. And I guess I spoke to my wife a couple of times about it, and she backed me every time that I brought the subject up. And I said, well, the only thing holding me back is me, so I'm going to make it happen. So it was
yeah.
just took that. I guess I had a big barrier there, and I just had to jump through it and then move forward.
Mm. Was there any particular point in your coaching up to now and working with Susanna that was the real pivotal thing for you that said, right, this is it, I've got everything I need now to make that next step? Was there any particular moment, or as you say, you were always going to do it?
Yeah, I guess probably looking back to around when you get, say, decision making, and that for me now, decisions that I do make, they're instinct. And I guess that
Mm,
become very clear to me that instinct was telling me that that's where I'm going and that's where I'm moving
mm,
forward to. And I guess I had created a vision within my mind, and I could sit there with my eyes open now and see where I'm going. And I could then, when I made the decision to leave, that this is where I'm going, this is what's going to happen. And
mm,
prior to that, I had never even looked at creating a vision for myself of where I'm going to get an understanding of where I need to move forward to.
mm. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What about you, Michelle? Because I know you've done some incredible work, and I think yeah, it's your 55 faces with women, and I think Jill has also been part of that or is about to be, and myself. So that was it was really great, and very honoured to be asked to be part of that. And that's the other good thing about this community. you get linked up and hooked into people's different things that you would never normally be part of. But that's what I absolutely love about getting involved in other things that people are driving and leading themselves. And that's the great thing about the community. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your Aspire series and how, but again, how that's really come about and developed through the work with Susanna? Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, the Aspire series is my own work. But having said that, so much of it has been derived from my previous work that I absolutely loved as well. So yeah, it's a platform for women who are contributing to social change and social impact. And a lot of what I've done in the background is around using personal story to contribute to change. And at the point when I started Your Two Minds, I was partway through a launch and I was trying to navigate this launch, doing all the things in the strategies that you're told to do. And I was trying to squish myself into that. And it was kind of working a little bit, but also not really. And I got to this point only a couple of months ago. Like, it's been a really big turnaround very, very quickly, where I literally just abandoned it all and just went, I don't know what I'm going to do, and just threw my hands in the air. And I started thinking, like, what is it that I've done in the past that I actually do really well? And there are a lot of things that I have a ton of evidence of doing really well around building community and getting people on board for crazy, crazy things that somehow all line up. And yeah, I just started thinking, like, how can I apply what I've done previously? And I also had no words left to share. I just felt like I'd spoken so much that I had nothing left to share without having people to bounce off. And so yeah, 55 faces landed. Just as a thing around, can I share other people's stories and other people's experiences? And how do I get people thinking about the things that I want them to think about and get them on board in a different way, rather than kind of just going, here's me, here's me, here's me, which wasn't resonating whatsoever. And it wasn't aligned with my work anyway, which is about helping women share their stories and their experiences and identify for themselves where they would like to see change in the world. So I just completely flipped it on its head and just put this thing out saying I'm going to share one woman's story a day for 55 days, and having no idea where it would go or what would happen. And I think sometimes when you start a project, you know what the end outcome is going to be, and sometimes you have no idea. You just need to start it. So I put this thing out, and most women that I spoke to were actually really honored and really excited, and were like, yeah, absolutely, I would love to share my story. And it's very organically started building a community. And I've had Colette was one of the people who said to me, have you thought about getting this published? And I had 3 women in a week come to me and say, have you thought about getting this published? I'm like, no, but maybe now I should. Okay. So, and I felt that I would be writing a book this year. I didn't think it would be this book, but so organically it's what I wanted to happen is happening, just in a very different way. So not the way that, is the cookie cutter approach. It's my version.
And it's great, and I love it. And I love seeing those stories coming up through your news feed and all these beautiful women, and you realize how diverse and how rich the world is with stories, and how powerful the women are. How did Your Two Minds sort of help you with that and sort of get going? Because I do remember a time when you were a little bit stuck and you were going, okay, what now? How do I move this? How did Your Two Minds do that or help you with that?
Yeah, good question. It's something that I've found a little bit confusing to start with, but it's landing more and more. I think and like I've worked with another business coach, and a lot of the business coach approaches are kind of like, here is a structure, and you do this structure and you'll get to the end result and you will have the success. And I did the structure and it wasn't lining. It didn't feel like it was mine. So I think Susanna's approach is more open up, and and I'm very intuitive. And Susanna kept saying to me, Michelle, you're intuitive. Michelle, what's your intuition saying? What's your next step according to your intuition? And so I think there's something really profound in and this is a part of my work as well, is that I really strongly believe that everyone's got their own answers already. So I think a big part of Susanna's work is that she provides the space that allows you to open up to your own answers already. So it's all already there. Yeah, it's that tapping back in.
Yeah, it is. And I guess there is that chance that if you hadn't have been part of the community, you may well have not moved it on to where it is now. So that's great. That's great. Tony, what about you? Are you and Jenny working on something together, or have you got your own individual big goals that you're going for?
Well, we have our main goal for our life together, which is, the big house that we both want. But we've both got different ways that we want to get there. But we're both supportive of each other in our goals. So that's really exciting. It's really helpful to be, first of all, being in a relationship with somebody who's kind of growing in the same way that you are. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that is really important. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, she has her ideas and what she's doing, and it's pretty fantastic what she wants to do. And then I've got something brewing for myself too. I have my exit strategy for getting out of the job.
Yes, and I guess hearing what Wayne's done is I guess some inspiration there. And so working with Susanna, how is that supporting the both of you? Or I guess just talk about yourself. How is that helping you achieve what you're working towards?
Honestly, it's as simple as learning to trust myself. And of course Jenny, my partner, my rock, my foundation. She's been instrumental in a lot of the major changes that I've made in my life in the past 5 years, and she hasn't steered me wrong yet.
Good.
So learning to trust her judgment, learning to trust my own instincts, and just knowing when to make that jump.
Sure. And I think it's great, as you say, both being in this together, because you're both doing that growing together. Because one thing we are absolutely certain of is that there will be some changes in how you look at things, how you manage your life, and how you do those things. And whilst you've got those great connections with people in the community who are all on the same journey with you, it's fantastic if you are doing it as well with your partner. Jill, let's jump over to you, because I know there was some changes for you earlier this year, or at some part during the year, and I think you've taken a different course of action. And I know that being part of this community and working with Susanna has given you, I guess, the strength and the confidence to do what you're doing now. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So where, say, Dwayne has made the decision to move away from his career that he had built, I had that decision made for me, and my position was made redundant at the end of. It was a job that I really did enjoy. I was working in sales in technology, but I've been wanting to move more into the health and wellness space. And the big C-type goal that I had written out in December when I started with Susanna was all around multiple streams of income, working in the health and wellness industry, and also coaching and living a laptop lifestyle, like a nomadic lifestyle. So interestingly enough, at the end of the financial year, my job was made redundant. I had some major changes in my online health and wellness business that were all very positive. Attracted a couple of amazing clients and another person into my team. we actually went on holidays to northern Queensland. Just was able to slip it in, fortunately, in between all the COVID restrictions, etc. And I was in Port Douglas for 4 or 5 days. The next, my new team member, I was basically working, part-time in paradise.
Yes.
And I just realized, oh, this is what I asked for. This is what I've been wanting. Oh my gosh. And it just kind of happened like that. So it was, you're moving towards it, yes. But then all of a sudden it was just a realization that here it is. This is what I've been asking for. And so from there, those first few days of being in a different position, I've just had this huge belief that I can do this, that this big C-type goal that I had isn't like a big fairy tale. It's actually completely realistic and available to me, and I'm on the right path. So it was quite an amazing, it was almost an epiphany, I guess. But yeah, so that's what happened. And it was like, losing a job that I'd had for, I don't like saying losing a job because I didn't really lose it. But it was like, it was meant to be. It was making that decision for me.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful. The last 3 months I've been working on my my health and wellness business. It's been good for me because I've been focusing more on my own health and wellness, and then I'm attracting as well.
That's great. And if you hadn't been working with Susanna, what do you think might have happened? I mean, not that we
I would have
really
been
want
terrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Old me would have been terrified because my paradigms were all around you have to work for money. You have to put in a 9-to-5 job to earn money. That's been drilled into me since I left school. I was, I had certain dreams that I wanted to do, but I got a job serendipitously straight out of high school, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to go down that path. But everybody coming from a small town, growing up in Tasmania, everyone was like, you got to take the job. Jobs are hard to come by. So I moved into that. That was built into my psyche that you work, you get paid, that's it. And so it would have been terrifying for me to be in that position if I hadn't have been doing this work.
I think we've mentioned a few times today having the tools up our sleeve, and that's sort of what I think as well. What I have learned as being, working with Susanna is I'm just so much more equipped now to deal with the stuff that gets thrown at you in life, or the stresses that come, and you're just dealing with those a lot better, and having an inner confidence to be able to do that, I think, as well. That's it. It's been fantastic. I'm just wondering, sorry, Jill, do you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to add in that my husband's been having some health concerns for the last 18 months as well, and my ability to stay calm, to stay positive, to be caring, and everything amongst that has also been just the strength that I've been able to know that I have inside me, that I probably didn't have 12 months or so ago.
I think what's interesting and something that I never imagined would happen as you're going along on this journey, you're learning about yourself, there's things that come up that you just didn't imagine would be a positive from working with Susanna. And I think having that serenity and that calmness is something that I've noticed personally about myself, just having that inner, that'll be fine, that's okay, I'm not going to worry about that. That is not where my attention and my focus is going. Not going to give it heat and light, because this is something over here is more important. And I would have probably spent time ruminating about some things that would not have been helpful. So I've really learned that, which was quite a surprise, I think. I didn't imagine that I'd get that out of coaching. Just wanted to touch on the decisions article that we all get as part of our comprehensive suite of information that goes with part of this. And just wondering what some of the best parts are for you out of this. It's one of my favourite articles, I have to say. And is there anybody who wants to jump out with which is their sort of best part from here and why? Or shall I kick off?
I can start off.
Sorry, was that Dwayne?
I'll start off.
Oh, sorry, it was Tony. Hi, Tony. Go ahead.
No worries. I was just quickly skimming through it again, and the part that always catches my attention, going back to what I was talking about before, noticing people around you that see the world differently, you know. The part talking about, you know, someone says they would like to vacation in Paris or purchase a particular automobile, but they can't because they have no money. And I think this is like that's the largest group of people that I know that like I can immediately think of 5 people that spring to mind, but they can't do it because they have no money.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I wish I could do this, or you know, oh, it would be really nice if I could do that, or you know, but you don't need the money until you've made the decision.
That's right. And there would have been a time when you would have, you'd have gone along with that kind of thinking. And I guess, now that there's a different way of looking at it. What about you, Jill? Was there anything in the article that stands out for you?
I think I'm the same as Tony, because I was one of those people that said, I mean, not to a degree that I wouldn't do anything, because I'm very active, and we've been on some amazing vacations and done things when we probably couldn't afford to do it. But I think I've often been led to make decisions based on finances. So when I was making the decision to join the course, for example, I basically had to remove that money block and say, well, if it wasn't about the money, would I make the decision? And if the answer is yes, then go for it, because and the money was there. It was there. I didn't go broke from doing this course. It was ridiculous to think, but it would have probably in the past been the major part of that. So yeah, that would be
right. Yeah, good. What about you, Michelle? What's in the article? What's some standouts for you?
Yeah, I didn't know we had to underline things.
All over.
Yeah. I think the overall connotation of it's almost like a separation of self from the collective. Like, it's so easy to. I think there was one bit that was talking about, you're not really forced to think, because if somebody tells you something, they're probably just regurgitating what they've been brought up to believe, and what their parents have been brought up to believe, and their grandparents have been brought up to believe. So it's almost like there's this conscious choice or conscious decision in itself to choose to make decisions for yourself using your own mind beyond the collective. So I think that overall message is my biggest thing. Yeah.
Great. And Dwayne, I know we touched on this just before we went live. Is there anything you want to say about how you're making decisions today? And
Yep. Yes. For me, these days, I guess decisions I make are all out of instinct. Every time I make a decision and it feels right, every time it happens, it works, and everything that I thought of, and plus some, always just comes to me. And when I don't move on those instincts, there's normally something, whether it be a week or a month later, that I realise I've been held back from because I didn't go with my instinct at that time. I find it now that decisions it's just a natural day-to-day thing. It's not a process that I have to go through. And it's only because of the work that I have done with Susanna that I have become to that. Where if you look 12 months ago, lots of different things, because we're looking to buy a block of land, build a house. That was hugely scary for me. And now I'm just like, let's do it, make it happen. There's nothing holding me back. Like there's that vision that I have in my head, us moving forward, we're already there, we're already living there, we're already doing that. And there's no scare, there's no holdback for me anymore. So the decisions for me now, when it comes to, if it feels right, you move on it straight away. If it doesn't, well, then it's not right, and then you don't move on it. So for me, that I guess there's no underlying anything with the decision making of that article for now. For me, it's all about instinct.
Yeah, that's
and that
fantastic.
feeling right.
Awesome.
I love the part about it says it's a very basic universe law of the universe that you either create or you disintegrate, and an indecision leads to disintegration. That's like, wow, that kind of blew me away but when you think about that, and I really do think about now, I mean, creation can be just taking that next step forward, and that's what we learn about working with Susanna. It's action, action, action. Take that action, take a step forward. That will keep you creating, because if you stay where you are, and now I tend to think of, you don't stay where you are, you do tend to then go backwards, and that's where the disintegration is. So I love that bit. The other bit I also really like is that decision makers aren't afraid to get something wrong. And again, that's something I've learned from coaching with Susanna is I'm going to make those decisions, and if it doesn't quite work out, that's fine. Just move on. I would have been worried, especially in my work as well. I'd have been concerned that if I'd made a decision and it didn't turn out to be the best one, I would have sort of thought, oh, how does that look on me? But now I'm actually very confident with, okay, that's all right. Let's go in a different direction. So I think that confidence that you have to do that is something that's really come out for me. And what I also see as well with people like yourselves, other clients, getting their confidence to make those decisions, which is great. So
you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if there is somebody sitting on the fence who's not quite sure about whether this is the right investment for them, the right move to jump on board with coaching, what would you say to people? What would you say, Tony? What would you say? You're the newest one here, so this is more fresh for you. What would you say to somebody who's just sitting there and I'll think about it? And that's what people say. Oh, I'll go away and think about it, and I'll let you know. And
well, the first thing I'd say is, look at your life the way it's going now. In 5 years, where are you going to be? Are you going to be where you want to be? Or are you going to be in the same place that you are now?
Yeah. And not even in 5 years, 12 months from now, what's changed for you? A really powerful way of looking at it. Thank you. Jill, what would you say?
Well, I know you hear this a lot and it gets thrown out without much meaning, but what's stopping you? What, you know how we say that, well, what's stopping you? But think about that. Like what is it actually is stopping you from making that decision, and have a think about it. Is it real, or is it, what's the worst that could happen? And really looking at, well, what is the worst thing that could happen, or it's just making your mind up by looking at really what are those barriers that are stopping you from actually investing that in yourself when you've got these big dreams, or you've got these big plans, or and you don't know how to put it all together and where to go. So yeah, just ask that question to yourself. What is it that's stopping me from doing this? And hopefully that from inside that answer, like Michelle said, the answers are all there. We just have to listen to it.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Michelle?
I have two things. The first is that I say a very Buddhian kind of response. Close your eyes and put your hand on your heart and ask, take a big breath, clear your mind, and ask if this is for me. If it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. And if it's somewhere in between, then ask yourself what questions you need answered to figure out whether it's a yes or a no. The second thing that I would say that I've been reflecting on a lot recently is that everyone's got a shelf in their house that's just always full of stuff. Like everyone has one. It's the spot where all the random stuff gets collects.
Or a drawer.
You
Or a drawer. Yeah.
Totally,
Or
a
a
drawer,
drawer.
cupboard, a room,
Or a kitchen table.
maybe a whole house.
We all relate.
Kitchen table, definitely. So the thing is that you can clear that off, and before you know it, it's going to be full again. And life is exactly the same. Like you can clear something out of your life and it's going to fill up again, but we get to choose what it is that we fill that space up with. So yeah, what is it? What is the stuff that you want on the shelf at the end of the day?
Yes, I love that analogy. We're here,
Awesome.
we hear a lot of people say, I'm a little bit busy. I'm a bit busy at the moment. I've got a lot on. I haven't got really any time for coaching. And we know that that is absolutely the right time to jump on board, because you learn an amazing amount of skills that actually just help you with life and managing your life and how you, what choices you make, and what you'll fill up your kitchen table with. I love it.
Yeah, what are you saying yes to that's not really taking you on the path that you want it to? Yeah.
And Dwayne, anything from? I haven't come to you yet, have I? Yes.
No. Probably for me, if you would, I guess a lot of the time, even still now, every now and then, we get busy and we get the chatter in our head, and we have something that we can move forward on, and we're holding ourselves back with allowing the chatter that we have going on within our subconscious mind or our conscious mind that's going on and on and on. And a lot of the time we just need to stop and, like Michelle said, just take that breath, relieve that, take it out of our mind, and then we can a lot easier see what the clear decision is, or if there is questions about that, then we can stop and ask ourselves those questions without that busy chatter going on our head that we can't understand anything.
Yeah,
that's probably the big thing for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So there we have it. So we can ask, what are you waiting for? What's stopping you? What are you cluttering up your kitchen table or your drawers? I absolutely love that one. Where do you want to be in the next 12 months, 3 years, 5 years from now? What do you need to do differently? And these are just some of the things that I think you need people to have a think about if you're just not quite sure on whether you want to jump on board. We all believe it's the best decision that you'll ever be able to make. So I want to thank you all. You've been absolutely amazing. And thank you for sharing your stories and your experiences of working with Susanna and your two minds, which is all part of our lives and always will be. And Susanna is a fantastic coach. So thank you very much. Everybody, Susanna, please jump on board on Monday at 12 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time for a bonus session that Susanna will be doing. We're not quite sure what it is, so hold on to your hats. She will amaze us as usual. So thank you very much and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.